Hello there, welcome to the channel and welcome back if you're a return viewer. You're watching the Cross-Check Review of Books and I'm Kerry. Well, today I'm sitting here in the evening for a change on a quite mild early spring evening in September 2023. Looks like the seasons are finally changing. We've had a horrible wet and grey winter. A few sunny days lately, but still getting like gale force winds occasionally, and there always seems to be something threatening on the horizon. I guess that's just the new normal with the weather everywhere these days, I guess. Today, I'd like to talk about this book that I finished a couple of days ago. It's a bit of a niche one, probably international viewers probably have no idea who this woman is, so I'll have to do an introduction. So, Noelle McCarthy was a bit of a media darling in the media in the early 2000s here in New Zealand. Now, she is an Irish woman from Cork in Ireland, County Kerry. She came to New Zealand in the late 90s, early 2000s, wanted to have something to do with the media, got it by chance, got a job at a student radio station in Auckland, BFM, and kind of rose up meteorically, and soon she was filling in for other people's shows on the state national broadcaster Radio New Zealand. And then over the long summer breaks in the early 2000s, she got her own show, Summer Noelle, and she would interview and investigate and just talk up a storm over the summer break. And frankly, I really loved her accent. She has this amazing, attractive Irish accent, which I think attracted a lot of listeners. And she was fiercely intelligent, bright, and seemed to be interested in everything she was doing. But then she suddenly disappeared from the airways, and she suddenly seemed to be, nobody wanted to talk about her. She was like officially never existed anymore. And at the time I didn't know why that was and basically forgot about her. Now she, last year she put out this book, Grand, which is kind of a memoir, but it is more focused and related to her relationship with her mother Carol in Cork Island. Quite a character, as they say. A meek and mild woman who, when she had a couple of drinks down her, became a wildcat and ferocious and untamable by her family and friends, and would rage against everything. So the book starts with Noelle having heard that her mother only has a few days to live and rushing back to Ireland and finding her mother in a very sick state with advanced cancer in a hospital bed. And it looks like the inevitable is going to happen. She doesn't have that long to live. Noelle's only got like 2 weeks before she has to go back to New Zealand. So she's in the unenviable position of hoping something happens before she has to go back. And so the book begins, and then we flash back to various vignettes in their relationship, from Noelle's childhood, various friends and family, Noelle's school days, her early employment, and so on. Gives you a whole picture of Noelle McCarthy, which I didn't really know before. But I found it frustrating that this kind of acts like a memoir of Noelle McCarthy, but then it's intertwined with this kind of story of her mother, and I wish it could have decided on one or the other, or she had put out 2 books. Interested to know what was really going on. It turns out that Noelle McCarthy, once she came to New Zealand, she kind of followed in her mother's footsteps and started drinking herself to oblivion and had anxiety attacks trying to do her job at Radio New Zealand. And that's basically why she disappeared from the public view, because she was an alcoholic. She turned that around in the late 2000s, apparently stopped drinking in about 2009, 2010, and has since gone on to become a writer of columns and articles, and now she is the head of a company that produces podcasts for radio and online distribution. I think it's called Bird of Paradise Productions or something like that. So things have worked out for her in the end, but it's nice to know what really was going on. But in some ways I feel like it really wasn't any of my business, and that's kind of the thing that kind of disturbs me about this book. There's a lot of what they used to call misery porn in this book. Looking at the dregs of society, the agony of someone going through a horrible thing like alcoholism, homelessness, all that type of thing. There's a lot of that going on in this book when they discuss her mother, Carol, and when he discusses her own drinking period. That kind of didn't kind of work for me as the kind of memoir that it was trying to be in other parts. So the inevitable does happen. Carol succumbs to her illness, and Noelle is reduced to watching her funeral via an internet link from New Zealand. Noelle goes on to marry and have her own child, so we get the kind of the chain continuing on basically. And Noelle reflects back on her mother and how she changed her and made her into her own image, all that type of thing. It's an interesting book. It's enlightening about some things. It kind of does have something to say about family and friends and various events in life. But I wish it had been one thing or another, a book about Noelle McCarthy or a book about her mother. Mixed together, it just seems an odd mix, and like I said, some parts of it were a little disturbing unnecessarily. So that is Grand by Noelle McCarthy. Okay, we'll see you next time. Have a good day, have a good evening, have a good morning, have a good night. We'll come back to you very shortly with another video.